All right, quick review of the markets and the opportunities that presented themselves today. All right. All right, let's go. So this is gold. I think this is still in play. I'm not really sure, but this was a move down, and it retested, and there was a little move, and I'll show you how it looked. This is basically it's at support. All right, so here it's at support. When it's at support, all of this came in, all of this volume and all of that came in. So you had this big wave. The market is in. 1 second. I don't know what I messed up, but anyway. So the market is at support at this pivot. Rallies, pull back, test the pivot. So it's very likely it's going to bounce. Soon as that's seen, what do you see? Go down, up on heavy volume. The biggest upwave volume there is in the recent number of, of upwaves. So that basically doesn't mean enough. I need to see more, specifically what's happening here at these double bottoms right here. First thing that catches my attention is on the tapering chart, you have that. All right, you have that, and then you have that. Okay, so when it has heavy volume like this, and it pull back, and then it does a spring, which is what this little thing is. If you see that little thing here is a spring. Now, typically, if you know, if you study change of behaviors, right, they have a tendency to come from spring locations. I don't know why, but that's the situation where I think it's the best price. So, they get in, smart money gets in, or there's some covering or something like that. So this little low here was a spring, and on this chart you see this big bar. I like the size of this bar, and it pulls back and does this thing, and this wave here is, it's pretty strong. But what helps is seeing this volume here, which is a pretty big print. All the white prints here, that's the biggest one. So in my book, that is some type of climax. Now, I don't know if that's going to initiate an uptrend or it's just going to be a temporary bounce. It's either some type of uptrend or some whatever. We don't know how big the move is going to be, because it can just go to resistance, get stuffed, and go back down, especially because of all of this selling. So I was banking on it going right here, at least to this level. The break right there. So this bounce, reverse, and go up and test there. Now we'll see how this plays out. So anyway, long story short, you have a minor climax, big print, a spring, and a reversal. All right. Now that reversal is the biggest in the last 5 bars. Okay. Now you have that pullback here, and that was the entry location. Basically, if you want to enter, it would have to be here, because you can see that they're coming back to test the creek level on this 1, 2, right? Test, retest. So it's going to test there. So that's the entry. And when I tried to dip here, there was nothing, no volume. So you can also just observe the hinge. So it's basically, this rally pulled back to test, and the stop goes under the base. And now, here's the dilemma here, okay? It rallies here on massive amount of volume, relatively speaking, of course. The 165 is bigger than all of these prints. So what are they doing here? And it had followed through a little bit, not that much. So I'm not sure if it's absorbing or some breaking out. Yeah, typically this is absorbing like this area. It's very likely that's what's happening, but I can't really be sure, not yet. Anyway, long story short, this was the base, right? You see that it had a climax, it had a spring, it had that, and during the prior session it had a POC, because you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 7 what's this called? 7 7 boxes across a line, so it's making your base, and then break and hinge, making another base, break. So right under here, that's where the stops would. Because if you're going to count on the support, they need to be a little bit below 1, 2, around 1942.5. That's where the stops should be. Otherwise, they're going to get wiped, as is the case right here. So that's the story of how this reversed. Now, here's the thing. When this happens, you don't know the size of the move. You just don't know. All right. It could be a counter trend. It could be, with trend and a big move and all of that. So one of the rules is you always take a percentage of your position off in a small move. What I mean by that is don't get greedy. Because, there's different risk management strategies, but the idea is always, always, always take a portion off at a small target. It could be like a 2-to-1. You could use that. But don't try to hold everything for like a 10R or some crazy amount, because some of the accumulation is just going to set up a minor bear pullback. Like here, it could just be some accumulation to run the market higher a little bit, meaning it's a bear rally down, accumulating, and then minor pullback, and then it'll just continue back down. So you don't want to mess up those trades. Anyway, let's move on to the next market. This was the winner of the day. Hold on. All right, so here's the thing. Here you have a rally, and here you have the test of the breakout. Beautiful. You have a rally, you have a pullback to test the breakout. All right, now we're cooking. So as it did that, you saw this higher high over here. Again, you're going to notice something. What do you notice? That it comes from a spring. Right? Boom. But now we're going to examine it in more detail to figure out what's going on. First thing you should see that should stand out to you like a sore thumb is, well, besides the spring over here, is this value. It's pretty large, this print. It had no follow through. Instead, it had a retest, which was a spring, I think, right? Or this was the spring. So this heavy buying occurred on the spring. So that's even more telling, because you have that attempt to go down. All that volume is not breakdown volume, it's bag holding. All this volume here gets retested and it goes the other way. So someone basically bought the breakdown. So as this market was going down and broke this low and folks sold and sellers came in to short, someone's buying, and look what happened. It went up. So after it does this, coming from that spring, it makes a really nice pullback right here, right? And what you should notice immediately on that pullback is 1, 2, 58, 31. On the rally, there's 96. On the pullback is 58 and 31, meaning pullback 1 and pullback 2. Pullback 2 is less than 1/3 the demand volume, and pullback 2 is less than pullback 1. So the environment is right for a trend, meaning, or at least another rally attempt. And that's exactly what happens in the next bar. And then it pulls back 1, 2, right? So 32 and 17, it does that again. Yes, there's a little bit increase right here to 25, but if you compare to the up wave or the up bar, 73 to 32 to 17. Again, the two rules. One, the second pullback, decrease in volume, less than the first pullback, and up to 1/3 the breakout volume. So it's going to hinge and it's going to go. And that's what happened, right? So those are those two, 32 right here and the 17 right here. Very, very telling. Test, retest, on the retest, less volume, sets up the environment to go higher because supply is gone. Up to that point, it tested, retested, supply is gone and has bullish background, meaning the green bar is bigger, has more volume, etc., etc. And then it did this. Now here's where I got confused. Otherwise I would have taken this. This had all this volume. But then it pulled back here. So it's like, what's going on? Right? Because it means that someone came and stuffed the move. Right? So it goes to resistance, has so much volume and pulled back. So sometimes that happens, you don't know. And it looks like someone stuffed the move. But it would just set up the pullback test to the support and flew. The final thing to note is in this area, in this hinge, is that low volume test, right? So I already explained, if you look at the numbers, 26.65, I'm sorry, 30, 33, 22.65. At this level, volume is decreasing. Now, why is it decreasing? Because supply is gone at that level. If supply is gone, it can go higher. And that's a wrap. And that was the much bigger move, right? All the way up here. Anyway, so the key things here, you have your climax here. And it goes up, down. You have a high. I can't really call this a higher high because I would like to see from the base make a higher high. You know, that I can call a higher high. And then the POC didn't. I don't think it developed here, or maybe it did. I don't know. I wanted it to develop a little bit lower. It didn't really do that. High value print, low volume testing occurred right there, and there was a minor spring right here with heavy volume, bag holding, and went the other way. So that's a that's a explanation of this accumulation. All right, so this is the accumulation. Again, this is your accumulation on the climax. Then it breaks out the other side, which gives credence to, the reversal. Then it forms your base. Very important for it to have a base and your lines of support. So I think maybe this is the one of the line. This is the second line over here. And that's all. If this thing wasn't there, this big white print with the follow, if it had follow through, then I think it was like, it's a no-brainer to get in and put the stop below the lows. But it pulled back, so it's kind of confusing over here. Okay, let's move on to the next. We'll take a look at the accumulation that occurred on the ES. Honestly, when it did this, I could not tell. There's no big white prints. There's one big print here, but it's not really that much, right? But here, I was confused over here because I figured that it would go, but I couldn't figure out what this was. I just couldn't figure it out. So, but it turned out someone was taking a nice fat position before this move. This is the bind, right here in the hinge. This is the buying. The bought in the hinge had a low volume test when it went down, and then look what happened. So this, sometimes the accumulation is a little bit more challenging to read, but this is accumulation. It goes down, down, down. And remember this, it is far more easy to read accumulation if you have a level. If you don't got no level, you just guesswork, right? But here you can clearly see what I'm showing here in the demand zone. That's exactly where it went, and then it did this. So you put, it's like this. If it goes to your level, whether it's a zone or test of the breakout or break and test levels or springs or support and up thrust and resistance, that already gives you a bias. That bias will help you interpret correctly. I know that sounds that you're not supposed to have bias and all that, but when it's at a level, in my opinion, it's better to have a bias because it will show you, it will automatically focus your attention to accumulation. On the long pullback here to test the levels, your mind will be focused more on accumulation. And sometimes that's really helpful because anytime you put something on, you have bullish indications and bearish indications. So how do you know which one's right? Well, if you have a level, it can kind of help serve as a filter. And this is a deep pullback right to that area. Clearly, that's where you know, to look for the move. All right, I'm done. Take care. Bye.